awards of fellowships, including 40 Under 40 Public Health Catalyst Award, Young Leadership Scholarship Award from IATSS Japan, as well as multiple Best Oral Presentation Awards. His research focuses on natural products for inflammation-related disease, pharmacological activities, and safety compounds, and so on. He also led research that are funded by institutional and national grants. With such an excellent background and impactful research, we are very honored to have him with us today. Good morning, Dr. Naim. How are you today? Yeah, I think I can hear you very clearly. I hope you are doing well today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, without further ado, it is my great pleasure to invite Dr. Naim to deliver his 15 minutes presentation. Dr. Naim, time is yours. It is still loading. Not yet. Ah, yeah. Now it's okay. Okay, thank you.
contact. When we think about innovation, most of us picture a shiny technology, artificial intelligence, or biotech solution. But social innovation is a little bit different. It's about new ways of doing things together. It can be a cooperative thing that brings farmers, fishers into a collective bargaining power. It can be youth hackathon that generates climate smart solutions. It can be indigenous community reviving traditional ecological knowledge and blending it with science. Social innovations recognize that knowledge is not only in laboratories or in university. It is in the life experience of people. It recognizes that solutions are not one size fits all. They emerge when diverse people come together to co-create the knowledge. There are many examples of social innovation in agro-coastal resilience. For this sharing session, I would like to share two examples. The first example is mangrove guardianship in Sabah, a social innovation in action. What happened to this community? Along the coast of Sabah, mangrove forests stand as a silent protector. They shield the community from storm, surge, provide breeding ground for fish, crab, and store immense amount of carbon. Yet, these ecosystems are under increasing threat from coastal development, aquaculture expansion, and the impact of climate change. Their loss is not only an environmental issue, but also a social one, undermining the livelihood and also eroding cultures tied to the land and sea. In response, the mangrove guardianship initiative in Sabah has emerged as a powerful example of social innovation. Unlike conventional conservation programs that are often top-down, this initiative is a community-driven. Local villages, fishers, students, and civil society groups come together to protect and restore mangrove. Drawing on both scientific tools and traditional ecological wisdom, the initiative is about co-ownership of natural resources. Community are directly involved in replanting a degraded mangrove area, monitoring biodiversity, and experimenting with a sustainable livelihood. For example, youth are engaged as mangrove ambassador, turning the environmental education into action, while women group and cooperative explore ecotourism and value-added products such as mangrove honey and handicraft. These activities do more than preserve trees. They create opportunity for income, strengthen the community bond, and nurture environmental pride among the younger generation. My second objective is related to youth-led digital early warning system in Indonesia. As you all are aware that Indonesia, with its vast archipelago and millions of small-scale fishes, face constant exposure to storm and unpredictable sea. For many coastal families, a single fishing trip is both their livelihood and their lifeline. Yet, without timely access to weather information, this journey often carry dangerous risks. In coastal communities such as those in Papua and eastern Indonesia, young coders have stepped up with simple but transformative solutions. An SMS-based early warning system tailored for fishers. This idea was very straightforward. Use the most accessible technology, basic mobile phone to send alert approaching storm, high tide, or sudden weather change. For fishers who are not have internet access or smartphone, a text message can mean different between safety and also tragedy. This initiative illustrates how youth innovation can bring digital device. Instead of waiting for costly government-installed radar system or relying on internet-based app that exclude the poor, this young developer creates a low-cost, community-friendly tool. They work with local fishing cooperative to understand when and how warning should be sent, ensuring the system fit into the daily life of coastal coastal environment. This impact has been so profound. Fishers report feeling safer at sea. Families experience greater peace of mind, and community gain confidence in the knowledge that they are not helpless in the face of natural hazard, for instance. Beyond this direct safety benefit, the initiative also represent a shift in power. Young people are not just a passive recipient of technology. They are designer of solutions that safeguard their community. What makes their stories social innovative is the way it's blend use creativity, digital skill, and community needs into scalable, life-saving intervention. It shows that innovation does not have to be complex or expensive. Sometimes it can be straightforward as a text, crafted with care, delivered on time, and trusted by those who receive it. In many ways, this use-led early warning system is more than piece of technology. It's actually symbol of agency, proof that when young people are empowered to act, they can transform vulnerability into resilience, one SMS at one time. But the problem is how you want to measure what's matter. We are moving beyond counting output to measure transformative that truly matters to the community. Okay. To be better understand how this works, we can look at social innovation from four foundation dimensions. This dimension help us to see not just what is being done, but how it is reshaping the way people, the community, and system interact. Okay, the first one is community-centered outcome. The first dimension is, again, like I mentioned, is the community-centered outcome. Social innovation, or SI, succeeds when community themselves define what change means rather than having it imposed from outside. For instance, I'm from medical background. We always want to have like smart objective or outcome. We want to reduce the prevalence of this by this at the end of this. But is that matter to the community, right? So what most important thing when you do social innovation is what matter to the community. Okay. For example, in Sabah, for example, local villagers recognize that mangroves are not just a tree. They are protector against flood, nurseries for fish, and symbol of cultural identity. Out of this recognition grew at the mangrove guardianship initiative, a collaboration of villagers, youth, and civil society. Together, they replant degraded area, monitor biodiversity, and build ecotourism enterprise. Young people are engaged in mangrove ambassador, turning conservation into source of learning and pride. Here, the outcome is not only restored forest, but also is restored dignity, resilience, defined and recognized by community itself. The second foundation is about equity and human rights. Social innovation should focus on the most marginalized people, reduce disparity, and ensure that no one left behind. A striking example comes from Eastern Indonesia, where young coders developed a low-cost early warning system for fishers. Many small-scale fishers don't have smartphone or have stable internet, leaving them vulnerable to sudden storm. By designing an SMS-based alert system, this youth brought life-saving information to every people who needed it most. It was not high-tech or expensive, but it just was. You know, equity here was not only abstract principle, it was the difference between returning safely home or being lost at the sea. The third foundation for social innovation is about system transformation. Social innovation is not only about fixing the isolated problem. It changes the underlying relationship and power dynamic. It asks who decide, who is heard, who hold the power, For example, in Sabah, mangrove guardianship transformed conservation from a government-driven action into community-led process. Scientists no longer didactic the agenda. Instead, they work alongside with local knowledge keepers. Police were not just written in office, but shaped by the experience of villagers wading knee-deep mud flood. This rebalance of voice and authority in system change is alter how governance itself function. And the fourth foundation is the local agency and also ownership. Social innovation only endure people see the initiative as their. It cannot survive as an external project or charity. In both Sabah and Indonesia, ownership is an evidence. Family restore mangrove not because they are told to, but because they believe in protecting what is theirs. Fishers trust the SMS alert because their own use design them. When solutions emerge from within, they are carried with pride. They do not fade when project funding ends. They evolve into movement that sustain themselves. And this is come to my final slide. Closing reflection, stacking together, these four foundations remind us that social innovation is not about flashy solution. It's about reimagining relationship between people, nature, between youth and elders, between science and traditional wisdom, between citizen and the state. The stories of mangrove guardian in Sabah and youth coders in Indonesia shows us that innovation can be as humble as a seeding or as simple as an SMS, and yet both carry the power to transform vulnerability into resilience. With that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Naim, for your insightful presentation on harnessing social innovation to build resilient, healthy agro-coastal communities. From your talk, we learned how social innovation can serve as a catalyst for improving health, resilience, and sustainability in agro-coastal areas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again in thanking Dr. Naim for sharing his expertise with us today. With that, we end this session and move on to the next one with another incredible speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce our second distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Kraiwood Kalawicha, PhD, from the College of Public Health Sciences, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. Dr. Kraiwood holds a PhD in Public Health from Taipei Medical University. He also completed his postdoctoral fellowship from National Taiwan University. Currently, Dr. Kraiwood serves as Associate Professor at Chulalongkorn University and Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Health Research. Next. His research expertise spans bioaerosol and indoor air quality and other areas related to environmental and occupational health. He has published extensively in high-impact journals. Throughout his career, he has received multiple scholarships and awards, including Postdoctoral Research Fellowship, National Taiwan University, Excellent Research Paper Award from Taipei Medical University, and multiple international conference scholarships. His current project is Water Quality and World Climate Change Project. And with this outstanding academic and professional profile, we are very privileged to have Dr. Kraiwood with us today. Good morning, Dr. Kraiwood. How are you today? We are very good condition. Okay, I hope all is going well with you. And now, without a further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Crywood to deliver your presentation in 15 minutes. Dr. Crywood, the time is yours.
So you can see my screen, right?
Okay, we can see the slide.
Okay, all right. So once again, thank you very much for having me here in this conference. It's very warm welcome. Actually, this is my second time to give a talk in this conference. I came here in 2023, right, for the previous 2 year presentation, and this year again. And this year, I want to share information and some of my research from my ongoing project related to the climate change and watch. Okay, although the area that I'm talking to today, it's not really a coastal area, but of course a flood-prone area, and the flash flood and wash will be a good interest of both area in your coastal area and in our area here in Thailand as well. All right, so my topic today is climate change and watch for sustainable living in flood-prone area in northern of Thailand. Okay. As mentioned, like in around the world, you may have heard about flooding everywhere. And even now, like in Thailand, we also currently have flooded in somewhere in Thailand. From this map, you can see that around the world, many areas have affected with the flood. There are so many causes of flood that contribute to a very serious flood condition in many areas. The common flood cause, the first one is the hydrological and meteorological factors that everyone knows that water flow, level of water, rainy season. If there are more rain, then it will be more water in the area. So it could be a clear cause of the flood in the area. Climate change is another thing that it's commonly talked about this during this time, particularly in the past decades, that people are more aware of the climate change that can affect not just only of flood, but actually as we talk to, and I think some of the speaker will also talk to today related to the climate change, it affects a lot in life, in nutrition, people migration, and of course with the flood here today. Geographical environmental factors related to the area, the height, the altitude, or other environmental factors that affect the area will also cause a flood problem as well. Okay. Socio-economic condition of the area of the country, and of course with how the government or how the people manage flood. With the weak disaster management system will also cause a lot of flood. In many areas, you can see that if the local government or even the central government doesn't really pay much attention or even doesn't have like funding allocation or good management on disaster management, it will even cause more flood. Okay. From the picture here, I show you the northern of Thailand in Mae Sai district, Chiang Rai province. I'm not sure whether you have experience like visiting Thailand before. Mae Sai is in the north of Thailand, close to Chiang Mai province. I think Chiang Mai will be one of the famous tourist attraction. And here, the province, sorry, the district here is very close to there. You can see this is the water level. As I already mentioned, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, or the northern is not close to the ocean or the sea, but it's also have the risk of flooding as well. You can see the water level here. It's nearly like almost cover the whole car. People have to even like sitting on the roof of their house because of the water level. It's very high. But what about after flood gone? When water gone, the mud is still. You can see that people are still walking in the mud and it's very thick in the area. when flood coming, a lot of things going on in the area, rescuing people, food delivery to people, rescuing people. You can see that in the last year, this picture is just from last year's situation in Mesa. You can see how the rescue team rescue people out from the flooded area. With a small boat, you even jet ski here because of the flood. The level is high and the water tidal, it's wave, it's very strong because of flow from the mountain, the flow from the water from the mountain make the water flow, it's very strong. So you cannot just walk in the water and help people out. You can see from this picture, even we use the helicopters to bring up the patient, the people who's sitting on the roof of their house up. Okay. Here is in Chiang Rai province, the north of Thailand. And Malaysia, Indonesia is from our south here. You can see that the area is not close to the sea at all, but it still get a very high risk of the flood. According to the analysis from the Stockholm Environmental Institute, they found that here are the cause of the flooded in the Mae district in Chiang Rai in the previous year. Majority of the problem it's come from the heavier rain than usual. Of course, it's come from the climate change, caused a lot of water in each year, and the previous year has more than the even previous year. Okay. 50 to 60% more than average. And of course, we also get some problem from the upstream river, from Mekong River, from China and from Myanmar that have a lot of land used or land utilization in the area, which cause a problem on like water flow and like block the area of water drainage to the natural water flow. So it makes the water level is getting higher very quickly. When it comes to WASH, I think people, if you have heard about WASH before, WASH, it stands for water, sanitation and hygiene. By the name itself, by wash, like, so when people wash, it means clean, right? So it's just like symbolic of like cleaning things, but it's of course related to water. Not just only water for drinking, but water for usage, like how you get into water, water quality, turbidity, whether you can drink that or not, sanitation, the toilet facility during the flood, or how you flush all those kind of like how you use the water or cleaning in the toilet, something like that, in the septic tank, whether it has overflow or not, or even the soap or water that you use for cleaning your hand, okay? Wash is very impactful public health risks because it can cause waterborne disease. If you have very poor wash quality, it can cause your vector-borne diseases, skin, respiratory, or infection. And with malnutrition, dehydration, and lastly, with mental health challenges. Okay, you may curious why wash is related to mental, because when water comes a lot during the flood, you don't have clean water to use, you don't have clean toilet to use. It causes people and stress, anxiety, and of course with mental health issue. Okay. From the report by the UNICEF, we found that like more than 500 million children live in the flood zone. And with the data from UNHCR, they stress that access to water is service as a human right. So it means that everyone should be able to access to the clean water and sanitation and hygiene. Okay. So by saying this water, it's very important. Wash is very important during the flood and disaster. In the previous year, we got funding and collaboration from the Water Security Sustainable Development Hub with the University of Newcastle University in Malaysia, doing the flood prone area and climate change project. And of course, with the WASH, we are looking at how people think about the climate change and how they react to that and how they respond to WASH in their area. Okay, actually, this project is also working in Indonesia as well. I believe it's in Jakarta, but I just didn't have chance to go to the site there to collect the data. And this project was presented before to the Queen in the UK, okay, the recognition. The project is divided into two parts with the water quality testing, training on the life in the suitcase, and explore water provision and perspective toward the climate change in the local community in Thailand. So we go to Chiang Mai province. You can see that here is an area of Chiang Mai province with a lot of water, river, natural river. But of course, in this area also get the very important flood every year. We did the survey and we want to know how people access to wash. We get them to answer to the questionnaire by WHO, assess their drinking water, the sanitation facility, hand washing facility, and we assess to the data collection. And of course, a very important one is the climate change and air pollution in the area. We want to know how people perceive climate change. According to our data, preliminary data, we found that actually people, they know about climate change, how's it impact? Because when you translate the term climate change or the common term, global warming, it means like the global is heat up, like it's getting hotter. So people understand about that. But some of people doesn't really know whether how the climate change is really affect on flooding. In the water accessibility, we found that actually people know how to store the water, how to access the clean water. Most of the houses have the clean water storage at home, or even they can have the place to access to the clean by buying the water, store it in a bottle, or even have the tank in the high altitude to get the water supply in their family. Their toilet is actually very good. You may surprise that some of the questions from WHO wash accessibility, it doesn't really apply to our country at all because the condition of the toilet and hygiene facility in Thailand is way more improved than those questionnaire. As already mentioned, people are actually aware of the global warming or climate change because of the term warming itself. So it means like hotter. So people think about a dry, drowned area. Flooding is one of the things that people think about. But of course, in the northern of Thailand, where there's rain and forest, people doesn't really aware that much of climate change can cause flood. Okay. We are moving to the other area, which is my ongoing project with our PhD student to Chiang Rai, which is back to Mae Sai again. We want to know how people, their response to the flood. Actually, the government already have the strategy to deal with the flood, but why the problem is still, we want to see how people in the community get involved, why the policy that implement it doesn't really work well in the community. So basically, we went there, we asked the question from the people, we used the questionnaire, we used the interview to see how people perceive the flood, how people manage, and why the government doesn't really put the effective strategy, or that effective strategy, why it's not really effective in the very local community. Okay. Here we got the qualitative results that we interview with the local level, district level, and of course with the provincial level, which is the top level in the community to see, in the area, to see from the lowest one to the top one, how the policy was implemented. We can see that actually people already aware of the flood and they have prepared well for the flood. But sometimes the problem is still, you can see from the response here, my community has prepared a system for distributing clean water during the flood. It means that people actually prepare if the flood coming, people know where to get the water, how the community will distribute the water to people. But in some area, people still say that I have received training on proper hygiene practice to prevent disease during flood. It's still a problem, okay? Because people, of course, the community leader do it, but they didn't really give a training to people, okay? It still be a problem there. But what about the response? Here you can see that people have very low response to flood. They have prepared, but when it comes to reality, they have low response. The problem here is the community did not provide support maintaining water sanitation. They distribute, but they didn't really teach how to maintain the sanitation during the flood. Here is almost my last slide. We want to know what actually people say. You can see here from what they say. Some participants say that if rainfall and upstream water volume data can be shared for collaboratively and forecasting technology is utilized, it will provide us more time to prepare and respond. You can see that actually the community have some data by the data collection in the community. The government also have data, but it doesn't really share. So when the water is coming, the local people may not know well, so they cannot really prepare well for the flash flood. Okay. Some people say in flash flood situation, the most urgent action is to communicate. Okay, it's very important. Water is coming. You didn't tell the people. How can people manage to evacuate or manage to protect themselves from the flood that's coming, right? The last one, before we never thought about having a prepared drinking water, toilet, or caring for patients in the community. When the flood came, we didn't know how to manage it. Yeah, that is very common. Flash flood, as the name itself is flash flood, right? So it's come without telling you, and it's very sudden. Within half an hour, water level getting very high. But the people doesn't really know or prepare to taking care their parents, their patient in their home. So it's very important if they know how to do it. All right. The project is still ongoing. We're still working on the data to finally analyze, and we'll be able to publish very soon. So once the data coming, we can show you more. You can follow our presentation or the publication in the future. As all I say here, water management or managing water is in the flood. It means more than just emergency response, but it's about life, because if you do it well, people there can save their lives a lot. Okay. So lastly, I like to thank all the team from our Chulalongkorn University and from the team in the Newcastle University, Malaysia, and the team from the Chiang Mai University that helps us a lot on the community assessment. All right, so that's all from my presentation and sharing. Hopefully you get some information and experience from Thailand, and hopefully it will be useful for your area as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Crywood, for your insightful presentation. From his presentation, he addressed the challenges of climate change and flooding in northern Thailand, especially in Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai. He outlined key causes: heavy rainfall, deforestation, urban growth, and rising river levels, and their impacts on water access, sanitation, and hygiene, or what we call WASH. Once again, thank you, Dr. Crywood, for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to the question and answer session. For all participants, you can type your question to the chat box or use the raise hand function if you wish to speak directly. And please kindly mention to whom your question is addressed. Okay, for the first session, we will open the floor for 3 questions. And we would be very, very happy if you can deliver your question in English. Okay, let's begin with the first questions. Okay, if you have any questions, you can directly ask the speaker by raise your hand. Okay, to start, maybe the questions. I have one question. My questions addressed to Dr. Kraibut. In your study, many communities reported having basic preparedness measures, such as shelters and water distribution systems, but still faced challenges in response during floods. What do you see as the most critical gap between preparedness and actual response, and how can it be addressed? Thank you.
For the question, it's actually very important point that we need to address when we do the flood response. As I already mentioned, there are like people, they actually know flood, they prepare, but when it comes to reality, the response is very important because when it talks about flash flood, it's very quickly. As mentioned, the previous flood in 2024, just half an hour, the water level is getting very high. With just half an hour, you cannot even evacuate yourself out from the community, even from your house. You want to pack your stuff, you want to take your money, take your food. It's very important. So as some of the response from the community that I just showed you in the very last slide, the communication is very important between the higher level and the community level to the people. Once you know the information, you've got the information, you have to have a quickly communicate to people. And actually, flood, it's actually every year there, although it's flash flood, but you know that which season that flood will come in. So if you can strengthen the community resilience, let them aware of the situation, let them well prepare all the time, then when the flood coming, they will be able to respond very well. If you will see some like very clear example, like thinking about Japan or even Indonesia, like in response to earthquake or I don't know, like volcano eruption or something, particularly the earthquake, like in every house in Japan or even Taiwan where I studied, they have the toolkits like package for themselves to be ready to evacuate if there's something happens. Same thing here. How you communicate to people in flood, how you prepare in your house. Do you have a safe, like clean water, a bottled water, clean? You have to stuck at home during the flood. How you can have like water to drink to survive, even for a few days. Waiting for people to come and rescue you is very important. But of course, strengthen resilience, give them awareness, and before like training or like prepare the community will be much more effective to solve the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kraibut, for your brief answers. Okay, anyone, if you have any questions, please raise your hand, or if you are shy, you can chat, you can type your question to the chat box. Okay, while waiting for participants' questions, I have one more question addressed to Dr. Zulkhairul Naim. Okay, how can social innovation be scaled up from small community initiative to wider regional or national strategies while still preserving local relevance and effectiveness? Could you hear my voice clearly, Dr. Naim?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear you properly. So there are many ways that you can scaling your social innovation from community to the national level. First, start with deep local root. For example, successful social innovation always begin a local ownership and also community legitimacy. For example, the Sabah mangrove guardianship is strong because it reflects community values, and without this base, scaling up would be fragile. And then based on their framework, they're able to improve whatever policy that we have in Sabah state currently. Because you need to show the product first before you be able to prove to the higher authority. So that's very important. So you need to start with deep local roots. And number two is about the share the model. So you need to document what works in terms of practices, governance, story, and outcome. Use whatever toolkits, a training module, and digital platform to make the model transferable. So when you want to scale up to the national level, even for you to use the same principle to the other country, you need to make sure that whatever you do, you need to have output. For instance, toolkits, like I mentioned, the training module. The example that I can give you is about Barefoot College in Indonesia. They train a rural grandmother as a solar engineers. They created a replicable training program that spread to Africa and also to Latin America. Okay, and then another things that I can give is you need to adapt, don't copy. What works in another place must be adapted to the context as elsewhere. No one size fits all. And then communities need flexibility to co-create their own version of innovation. We need to have a policy, rough policy, but when we go to the community, we cannot 100% adapt. We need to adapt and we cannot copy 100%. For example, the Indonesia SMS storm alert could be inspired similar model in the Philippines or in Pacific Island, but each would need to reflect the local language, culture, and also the technology access. Yeah. So I think that's all from me. Yeah. I'm not sure whether I answer your question or not.
Okay, thank you. It's answered my question actually. Okay, next to the audience, if you have any questions, if you want to ask directly, please just raise your hand. Or you can submit them via chat box. Anyone? Okay, my second question to Dr. Zulkhairul Naim. What role do local communities, actually the audience here is in the very young age area. So what role do local communities, especially in the young age people, play in driving social innovation? And how can policymakers or researchers best support their efforts to build resilience?
Thank you for the question. I would say that that's an excellent question, because the role of young people and policymakers are two critical levels in scaling or sustaining social innovation. Okay, if you ask me, young people are not just beneficiaries; they are the drivers of change in social innovation. Their roles are really important because they can co-create of solution. Youth can bring creativity, their digital skill, and fresh perspective. Example, the Indonesian young coders creating a SMS alert warning system for fishes. Okay, the second roles are community mobilizer. They can rely on their peers, school, and network around to do campaign, climate action, and also social enterprise. For an example, the Sabah Mangrove Ambassador mobilizing planting and awareness event, and also they can be a knowledge bridger. Youth often act as a bridge between traditional and also modernity, combining the local ecological wisdom with scientific or digital tools. Okay, another thing that youth can do is about future stewards. Youth involvement ensure the social innovation has intergenerational continuity. They are the one who will sustain and adapt innovation over the decades. Okay, in terms of role of policymaker in supporting this social innovation, previously when we talk about social innovation, sorry. If we talk about the policy, we always think a top-down approach, but in this era of VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, that is not the right way. It should be the other way around. That even the youth has their own role and responsibility in supporting the social innovation. So in terms of role of policymaker, it will provide legitimacy and recognition, and thus social innovation also need to be involve youth, and then example, recognizing youth-led conservation as a part of the national biodiversity target. Again, no man is an island. We need to work collaboratively between youth, between the local community, local leader, academician. Yeah. So policymakers also need to enable flexibility, experimentation, allow space for youth, community experiment, and adaptive governance rather than very rigid regulation. Okay. So I think that's all from me.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Actually, we have two questions from Ahmad Rizal, and one is for Dr. Krayut, and the second one is Dr. Zulkhairul Naim. I think I will read all of the questions to you, and after the questions, please answer the questions. Okay. The first one, the question is addressed to Dr. Krayut. How can international bodies like the WHO better integrate climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies into global health security frameworks? And the second question is addressed to Dr. Zulkhairul Naim. What specific public health interventions are most effective in protecting populations disproportionately affected by climate change, such as those living in small island, developing states, or arid regions? Thank you. If you don't catch the question clearly, I will repeat again.
Okay, it's fine. I can read it from the chat box here. So let me go first. How can international body like WHO better integrate, right? Because actually they already did that, and they did it very well. Not just only WHO, there are many organizations that work on WASH and climate change. But of course, WHO is one of the organizations like dealing with people's health, right? Global health security and things. But the problem is that those kind of integration or strategies, it doesn't really get into the local communities, okay? When we talk about flood, it's not just only talk about like the large area or like a big population, but the local communities, things, people living there or head of the village or head of the local, they didn't really well aware or doesn't really know what kind of strategies that those institution or organization has implemented. So when it comes to reality, it doesn't really work well. As our project that we are working on right now, the country or the provincial level adopt the policy from the government, and the provincial also think about the local characteristic, how their community look like, what is the characteristics of the land, the area, how people, their cultural and everything like integrate together. But when it's really come to the very small unit, which is like village or very local community, it's a bit difficult because some area, for example, like in the place that I show you in my presentation, Matsai, it's fine because it's a large community. However, the mountain area, which is actually even local government, it's very difficult to get it to that area as well. So it's very difficult for that area will manage or will implement the strategies that adopted from the higher institution into that very local area. So that makes a lot of problem there and makes a problem still be a problem in that communities. Okay. Actually, they also have another question to me here. Should I just continue to here? Okay, let me just continue to my other question that comes to me from Coron, right? Coron Universitas Jember. Okay. How many factors cause weak disaster management system and give an example of strong disaster management system? Actually, there are many factors that cause weak disaster. You know that you think about it as well, corruption, um, communication. Like if you didn't really get communicate well from the higher organization, higher level organization to the local one, so poor communication, it could be a very problem to the management. And the other factors such as the response from our community, like the data sharing from various organizations that working on this topic, didn't really sharing well to each local or each department. So when it comes together that you have to work together, it doesn't really work well. Okay. For the strong disaster management, there are many things to affect of strong management as well. How's the government prepare? How's the government allocate the budget, annual budget for response to flood? When flood is coming, how's the government give the compensation or help people to rebuild their house or have the system to distribute the clean water to people in the location or not? You prepare the how to say like food for in emergency case or not, like when you people come together living in the shelter away from their home, they need to eat, they need to use a toilet, they need to wear the clothes. So all these kind of things, the government prepare or aware of that or not. If they do it well, they prepare it well, they think about from every aspect of the people who got affected, then it's a good system, right? But of course, each location, each problem have the very unique one, very unique problem to deal with. So you also need to think about the community and people who live in there as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Move to the Dr. Khairul Naim questions.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think it's not easy to answer that question because as we all know that the impact of climate change is very vast and is quite diverse. And I would say the intervention should be tally with the impact of the climate change. But what I can give a few suggestions, for example, in terms of climate sensitive disease surveillance, you need to strengthen monitoring and early detection, for example, for vector-borne diseases, dengue, malaria, that thrive in warming climates. And you also need to build community health workers network trained to recognize climate-related health risks quickly. So if the impact more towards climate sensitive, so I think this one of the intervention that we can do. If the impact is more toward like heat and extreme weather preparedness, again, we are talking about establishing early warning system, SMS alert, siren, radio for storm, flood, and heat wave. And of course, we need to create a cooling center and a safe shelter with medical support for vulnerable group. For instance, for elderly, children, and pregnant mother. And then if we talk about food and nutrition security, we need to promote climate smart agriculture, salt-tolerant crop, hydroponics, rooftop garden, support community seed bank and local fisheries management to protect food source and introduce nutrition program that targeted children and pregnant women during time of scarcity. So in essence, the intervention should be tally with the impact that we predict. So no one size fit all again, but I'll give you a few suggestions for the implementation. So yeah, I think that's all from me.
Okay, thank you very much for the answers. To the audience, if you still have something to ask or have something to clarify to our incredible speaker, please type your question to the chat box or can raise your hand. Okay, I think we can end this Q&A session. Okay, thank you very much for the interesting discussion. Because of the time limit, we now would like to end the Q&A session. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to sincerely thank Dr. Zulkailur Naim and Associate Professor Dr. Kraiwood Kalawicha for sharing his expertise and vision with us today. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. We also thank all participants for your active engagement and thoughtful questions. With that, we officially end this session, and I would like to hand the session back to our MC and continue with the next part of the program. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Gratitude has been said to the splendid speaker, Dr. Zulkhairul Naim, and Associate Professor Kraiwood Kalawicha, PhD. And best gratitude has been said to the moderator, Mrs. Erwina Savitri, STPMS. The certificate will be displayed on the screen. Furthermore, there is a certificate handed out by the Vice Dean 1, the Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember, Dr. Anita Dewi Prahastuti S, SKM MC.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. On the behalf of the Dean, Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember, we express to deepest appreciation to the speakers today. For the first speaker, Dr. Zulkhairul Naim from University Sabah, Malaysia. Thank you, Dr. Zulkhairul Naim, for attendance in this conference today. And for the second speaker, Associate Professor Kraiwood Kalawicha, PhD from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. Thank you for coming as a speaker for the fourth PHAC conference. Thank you so much.
Before we moving on, there will be the documentation. Please arrange the position. The next is giving the certificate by online and giving second speaker, Associate Professor Kraiwood Kalawicha, PhD. Then, there is a certificate handed out by the chairman of the committee of the Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember. Without further ado, we invite to come on stage Mr. Kurnia Ardiansyah Akbar, SKM MK3 PhD. For Mr. Kurnia Ardiansyah Akbar, SKM MK3 PhD, please to give the certificate to the moderator. Before moving on, there is also the documentation. Best gratitude has been said.
Next, we will see the video profile Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember. Please for the committee to display the video on the screen.
Dalam era modern yang penuh dengan perubahan dan tantangan, bidang kesehatan menjadi semakin kompleks dan relevan. Di tengah perkembangan yang pesat ini, Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember hadir sebagai pilar utama dalam membentuk para profesional kesehatan yang memiliki wawasan dan kemampuan untuk menghadapi dinamika baru dalam kesehatan masyarakat. Sebagai bagian integral dari universitas yang berfokus pada peningkatan kesejahteraan umum, Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat berkomitmen untuk menghasilkan para profesional kesehatan masyarakat yang siap menghadapi tantangan dunia nyata. Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember terletak di Kabupaten Jember, Jawa Timur, memiliki masyarakat dengan profesi sebagian besar dalam bidang pertanian, perkebunan, dan maritim. Tentunya hal ini sejalan dengan visi yang dimiliki, yaitu menjadi lembaga pendidikan tinggi kesehatan masyarakat yang menghasilkan lulusan berkualitas, profesional berbasis agrocoastal community yang berwawasan lingkungan. Dalam mencapai visinya, Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat menentukan misi, menyelenggarakan pendidikan kesehatan masyarakat berbasis agrocoastal community yang berwawasan lingkungan, melaksanakan penelitian dan pengabdian kesehatan masyarakat berbasis agrocoastal community yang berwawasan lingkungan, menata dan mengembangkan manajemen kelembagaan fakultas berbasis teknologi informasi, membina dan mengembangkan jaringan kerjasama dengan lembaga terkait untuk meningkatkan derajat kesehatan masyarakat di tingkat lokal, nasional, dan internasional. Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember memiliki 3 program studi, yaitu Prodi S1 Kesehatan Masyarakat, Prodi S1 Gizi, dan S2 Administrasi Kesehatan. Prodi S1 Kesehatan Masyarakat memiliki 7 peminatan, antara lain peminatan Administrasi dan Kebijakan Kesehatan, peminatan Epidemiologi, peminatan Biostatistika Kependudukan, peminatan Gizi Kesehatan Masyarakat, peminatan Kesehatan Lingkungan, peminatan Kesehatan dan Keselamatan Kerja, serta peminatan Promosi Kesehatan dan Ilmu Perilaku. Prodi S1 Gizi memiliki fokus kajian atau kompetensi keilmuan, yaitu Gizi Klinis, Gizi Masyarakat, Manajemen Penyelenggaraan Makanan, dan Gizi Pangan. Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember memiliki tenaga pendidik yang sangat kompeten dan berdedikasi. Mereka merupakan para ahli dalam berbagai disiplin ilmu kesehatan masyarakat dan memiliki pengalaman yang luas di bidangnya. Dedikasinya terhadap pengajaran dan penelitian telah membentuk banyak generasi mahasiswa yang berbakat dan terampil dalam menganalisis masalah kesehatan masyarakat. Dalam mendukung kegiatan Tridharma perguruan tinggi di bidang pelayanan, Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember juga didukung oleh para tenaga kependidikan yang mempunyai kompetensi dalam bidangnya. Selain itu, mahasiswa juga diberikan wadah keilmuan untuk lebih mengembangkan pengetahuan dalam bidang kesehatan masyarakat berbasis agrocoastal dengan menghadirkan seminar nasional maupun internasional.
Selamat datang di Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember, tempat di mana ilmu dan dedikasi bertemu untuk menciptakan perubahan positif dalam masyarakat. Dalam mewujudkan visi dan misi Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember, kami telah menjalin kolaborasi dan kerjasama dengan berbagai stakeholder, baik stakeholder dalam negeri maupun luar negeri, serta kami juga menjalin kerjasama dengan instansi pemerintahan.
Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember memiliki 2 lokasi kampus. Lokasi kampus yang pertama terletak di Jember untuk prodi S1 Kesehatan Masyarakat dan S2 Administrasi Kesehatan. Sedangkan lokasi kampus kedua terletak di Bondowoso untuk prodi S1 Gizi. Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember selalu berupaya memberikan pendidikan terbaik bagi mahasiswanya dengan melengkapi sarana dan prasarana untuk menunjang kegiatan tersebut. Di antaranya, Sistem Informasi Terpadu atau SISTER yang merupakan sistem terintegrasi yang dimiliki oleh universitas, perpustakaan dan ruang baca yang memungkinkan mahasiswa mendapatkan referensi lebih banyak dalam proses pembelajaran, ruang kelas yang nyaman, laboratorium komputer, serta auditorium sebagai tempat berlangsungnya pertemuan-pertemuan penting di kampus ini. Dalam menunjang kemampuan praktik mahasiswa, fakultas juga melengkapi sarana-prasarana laboratorium yang mutakhir dan memiliki teknologi canggih untuk mendukung riset inovatif dalam berbagai bidang kesehatan masyarakat. Di antaranya, laboratorium audiovisual, laboratorium epidemiologi, laboratorium gizi, laboratorium K3, laboratorium kesehatan, dan laboratorium organoleptik. Dalam mengembangkan pengalaman dan semangat berorganisasi, fakultas juga melengkapi fasilitasnya dengan menyediakan gedung khusus mahasiswa yang terdiri dari 3 lantai untuk memfasilitasi 13 organisasi mahasiswa yang memungkinkan terjadinya transfer pengetahuan dan pengalaman berorganisasi baik antara unit kegiatan mahasiswa maupun para alumni. Melalui fasilitas yang diberikan serta didukung dengan lingkungan akademik yang baik, Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat telah berhasil menorehkan banyak prestasi, baik itu dari dosen maupun mahasiswa. Selain itu, para tenaga pendidik juga telah menghasilkan beberapa produk buku pembelajaran dan jurnal.
Saya merasa begitu terinspirasi oleh atmosfer di Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat. Saya belajar tidak hanya dari buku, tetapi saya juga belajar dari orang-orang yang saya temui dan layanan yang diberikan kepada masyarakat.
Proyek-proyek lapang telah mengajarkan saya bahwa kesehatan masyarakat adalah tentang mendengarkan dan juga memahami kebutuhan masyarakat. Kami memberikan solusi, tapi juga menjadi bagian dari perubahan yang positif.
Setiap perjalanan memiliki akhir, dan dalam Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember, akhir ini adalah saat mahasiswa kami meraih prestasi luar biasa mereka dan menjadi lulusan yang siap menghadapi tantangan dalam dunia kesehatan. Dalam perjalanan singkat ini, kami telah berbagi pandangan tentang Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember. Ini adalah tempat di mana ilmu kesehatan dan pelayanan masyarakat berpadu, menginspirasi generasi masa depan untuk menciptakan dampak positif dalam dunia kesehatan masyarakat.
Mari bersama-sama ciptakan masa depan yang lebih sehat dan berkelanjutan. Bergabunglah bersama kami di Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Jember dan menjadi bagian dari komunitas yang berdedikasi untuk memajukan kesejahteraan dan kesehatan masyarakat. Bersama-sama, kita dapat menciptakan perubahan positif yang berdampak dalam bidang kesehatan.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to the main agenda. The presentation by the not less remarkable speakers than another stunning moderator will lead this section. But before that, allow me to read curriculum vitae for our moderators today. Alright, our standing moderator's name is Mrs. Fadira Rahmasari, STRGZ MGZ. She holds a Bachelor of Applied Science in Clinical Nutrition in State Polytechnic of Jember and has a Master of Nutrition Science in Postgraduate Program in 11 Maret University. Her research interest is human nutrition, functional food, clinical nutrition, and the development of nutrition learning media. And she has also presented the study in international proceeding with the paper title Analysis of Nutritional Content and Organoleptic Test of Sangkurma Snack Cup, Banana, Dates, and Honey as functional food high in iron and vitamin C at the International Allied Health Study Conference in 2022. Alright, without further ado, Mrs. Fadira Rahmasari, STRGZ MGZ, the time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fadira Rahmasari. I am honored to be here as your moderator on today's conference. It is my pleasure to introduce our speakers today, Mrs. Girly Vera Kroslibato, please, the operator to shows the Mrs. Girly CV. Yeah, Mrs. Girly, a highly respected professional in the field of nutrition and dietetics, and she holds a Master of Public Health, a Master of Arts in Educational Management, and also a Bachelor degree in Nutrition and Dietetics. Mrs. Girly is a licensed nutritional dietitian and has been a dedicated faculty member at the University of San Carlos since 1999. Next. Mrs. Girly is a licensed nutritionist dietitian and has been a dedicated faculty, and also to her academic and professional accomplishment, she has received specialized training in diabetes education, food protection management, and commercial cooking. With her extensive background in education, clinical practice, and community nutrition, we are honored to have her share her expertise with us today. Good morning, Mrs. Girly. Hope you are in good condition today.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Before we begin, here are a few brief reminders to ensure a smooth hybrid experience. For online participants, please keep your microphone muted unless you are invited to speak. And for on-site attendees, please your phones to silent mode. And the Q&A session will be held after all speakers' presentation. Without further ado, in our first session, Mrs. Girly will present Empowering Nutrition in the Philippines, Addressing Challenges and Implementing Solutions. And Mrs. Girly, time is yours.
Can you see my slide now? Is it already shared?
Yeah, we can see your slide.
Okay, again, good morning, everyone. I am grateful, greatly honored and privileged to be with you today. Empowering nutrition in the Philippines, addressing challenges. Basically, this refers to the malnutrition problems and implementing solution through the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, or PPAN. So with that, uh, today I will be sharing the Philippines' experience in developing and implementing the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, PPAN, as a strategic framework for addressing malnutrition and improving nutrition outcomes. So what is PPAN? It's basically the 2023 to 2028. It's a policy making, or it's a policy and plan document formulated under the leadership of the National Nutrition Council, NNC, to address the nutrition situation of the country. So the National Nutrition Council is the country's highest policy making and coordinating body for nutrition. So PPAN is a 6-year strategic and directional plan to guide stakeholders towards achieving target nutrition outcomes. Basically, PPAN is aligned with the Philippine Development Plan, or PDP 2023-2028. So here, this shows the PDP, Philippine Development Plan, but this is the overall strategic framework. I will not explain this in details, but this shows where to gauge our country's progress implementing the PDP. Physically, we are answering for PPAN, the red circles, as you can see, both health and ensure food security and proper nutrition. Also, PPAN is aligned with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, basically number 2, zero hunger, and number 3, good health and well-being. So what are the malnutrition problems being addressed by the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition 2023-2024? The Philippines has a triple burden of malnutrition, namely undernutrition, overnutrition, and micronutrient deficiencies. So based on the 2023 National Nutrition Survey presented by the Department of Science and Technology, Food and Nutrition Research Institute last December 2024, as you can see there, for preschool age children under 5 to 0 to 59 months old, 2 in every 10, or 23.6%, are stunted, classified as high public health problem and significantly higher among rural dwellers. So we say stunting, the child is too short for his or her age. Next, you have the 5.6% are wasted, classified as low to medium public health problem. Wasting, these are children which are thin, compared to their height, or their age rather. Okay, while there are 2 in every 10, or 17.9% of the school-age children are stunted, the prevalence is significantly high among boys and the rural dwellers, and 8.4 are wasted. Here in this slide, the adolescents, we have also 20.7% are stunted, significantly higher among rural dwellers and from the poorest households. Adults, you have 20 to 59 years old, 1 in every 10 has chronic energy deficiency, and this is considered as a low magnitude and severity. When say CED condition, it's in which the food intake of an individual is inadequate for longer period of time and may result to an increased risk for illness and other health problems. In addition, 1 in every 10 older persons has CED, and it's of medium magnitude and severity. It is significantly higher among older persons aged 80 years old and above, and from the rural dwellers. Okay, among the pregnant women, 19.1% are nutritionally at risk, meaning they are of high risk of giving birth to low birth weight babies or at a higher risk of maternal complications. For overnutrition, say overnutrition, these are individual who is too heavy for his or her height. For preschool age children under 5 to 0 to 59 months, 3.7% are overweight for height, classified as low health problem.
Mrs.
For school
Gilly,
age children, 1 in every 10 or 12.9% is overweight and obese. Yes,
Mr.
can you
Your
hear
slide
me?
still in slide 1. Is it right?
Okay. No, I'm already, can I ask the technical to just show it for me?
Still have.
I think I have a slow internet connection.
Uh,
May I request? Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm already in the overnutrition. Yeah. So sorry for that.
it's okay.
Overnutrition.
Overnutrition. Next. 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 Oh yeah.
Yeah, there.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. So for lactating mothers, 51.1% are overweight and obese, and the significantly higher among lactating mothers aged 20 years old and above. For adults, 4 in every 10 are obese, and significantly higher among females, urban dwellers, and from the richest wealth quintile. For older persons, there are 3 in every 10, or 32.6% are obese, and it's significantly higher among older persons aged 60 to 69 years old, females, and urban dwellers. Okay, next slide. For micronutrient deficiency, first is anemia. We have also concern on this. 1 in every 10, or 11.4% of preschool age children is anemic and considered as mild public health problem. 5.4% of school age children 5 to 10 years old are anemic, and the prevalence is classified as low to mild public health problem. And for there's 5.8% of adolescents are anemic, considered a mild public health problem, and is significantly higher among females. Next slide, please. 10.9% of the lactating non-pregnant women are also anemic, indicating mild public health problem. Among pregnant women, 21.8 are anemic. While among lactating mothers, anemia prevalence is 11.2%, reflecting mild public health problem. 1 in every 10 adults is anemic, and it's mild public health problem, and it is significantly higher among females and urban dwellers. 2 in every 10 older persons are anemic, and it's of mild public health significance. So anemia is significantly higher among older males. Next slide. Aside from anemia, we have also a vitamin A deficiency. As you can see in the slide, the prevalence of vitamin A among preschool children aged 6 months to 5 years is 13.9%, which is, and this is considered as moderate public health concern. This aggregating this to infant and young children, the highest prevalence was recorded for 6 months to 1 year old infants at 34.8%, which are considered a severe public health concern, followed by 12 months old children, which is 19.8%, which can still be considered as moderate. Next slide, please. Yeah, so pregnant women, with regards to iodine deficiency, Pregnant women has a median urinary iodine concentration of 128 microgram per liter, which is below the WHO recommended range of adequacy of 150 to 249 microgram per liter, with 21.8 of the UIC level of less than 50 microgram per liter, which indicates presence of iodine deficiency. Next slide. Aside from undernutrition, overnutrition, and micronutrient deficiency, our country has a problem of food insecurity. When you say food insecurity, it means it's a state in which people are at risk or actually suffering from inadequate consumption to meet nutritional requirements as a result of physical unavailability of food, their lack of social and economic access to adequate food, and or inadequate food utilization. So if you can see in this slide, 3 out of 10 or 31.4% households experience moderate to severe food insecurity. About 3 in every 100 households experience severe form of food security, regardless of whether moderate to severe form of food insecurity. This is more evident among households with larger size, those in rural areas, and with among poor households. So what do you mean by severely food insecure? So this means that they experience not eating a day or more in the past 12 months due to lack or limited resources. And it can more likely increase undernutrition in acute form or wasting form of malnutrition. Next slide, please. With those challenges or malnutrition problem existing in our country, so if you try to check this, based on the theory of change, we want to transform the nutrition situation where we are able to reduce all forms of malnutrition across all age group by 2028. To achieve this desired vision of change, these are the 4 outcome result areas need to be realized. So first is along healthy diets, meaning we need to ensure food security is enjoyed by all Filipinos. Second is along practices and behaviors, which means all Filipinos adopting behaviors and practices toward good nutrition, good health and nutrition. Third is along having well-coordinated, inclusive, and integrated quality nutrition and related services, which include services on nutrition, health, education, sanitation, and social protection. Fourth, the last outcome result area focuses on creating an enabling environment that supports improved nutrition outcomes through policies, systems, infrastructure, sufficient resources, positive social and cultural norms, and good governance. Next slide. So what are the PPAN interventions? First is healthier diets. Interventions for this cycle of PPAN to achieve healthier diet would include those that would improve affordability of food, either by increasing the food supply or improving food distribution. Interventions that would increase availability of nutrient-dense and fortified foods, those that would increase availability of food from household, school, and community resources. So it also includes intervention that would transform market choices towards nutritious diets and those that would improve access to diverse and nutritious food for the most vulnerable groups. Next slide. The second PPAN intervention is better practices to improve practice and behavior. PPAN interventions include those that will encourage pregnant and lactating women to consume diverse and nutrient-rich diets and to increase their utilization of maternal and child health and nutrition services at the local government units. Parents and caregivers of children 0 to 23 months to demonstrate correct infant and young child feeding, sanitation, and hygiene practices that promotes optimal growth and development. parents and caregiver of children 3 to 5 years old to demonstrate responsive caregiving nutrition practices and to always provide safe, nutritious diets and social behavior change among school-age children, adolescents, and older adults along consuming or consumption of healthier diets, optimal water, sanitation, hygiene practices, adopt or engage in physical activity, and adopt healthy lifestyle. Next slide. The third nutrition intervention is improve access to quality services. So for improve access to comprehensive and quality nutrition, specific and nutrition sensitive intervention at scale, the PPAN has the following interventions that would enable all pregnant and lactating women and children, particularly in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, receive integrated and quality maternal and child nutrition and health services. All children 0 to 2 years old are regularly tracked, monitored, and receive an integrated package of nutrition services in communities and at health facilities. All children 3 to 5 years receive early learning, health, nutrition, wash, and protection services, especially those living in Jeddah. All children 5 to 10 years benefit from strengthened nutrition and food environment and wash services in schools and communities. And adolescents, and older adults have access to healthy food environment and diets, wash, facilities for physical activity, and mental health services and psychosocial support. Next slide. The fourth PPAN intervention is enabling environment that underlies measures to ensure food security, social and behavioral change, and multi-sectoral nutrition intervention. The first two relate to information and monitoring and evaluation. The third to governance. The fourth to capacity building, and the fifth to nutrition in emergencies. So the National Nutrition Council calls all the local government units to have a nutrition office and provide staff complement, which can be done one by one. Make sure that the local nutrition committee are functional, especially at the barangay or the village level. Support the barangay nutrition scholar. Make sure that they are trained and given incentives. Next slide, please. So what are the PPAN strategies? First is the multi-sectoral collaboration. It engage various stakeholders to work together towards common nutrition goals. So as you can see in the table, stakeholders may include the non-government organizations, local government units, legislatures, non-government organization, business and industry, academic institution, and every individuals. Okay, so we can we can support PPAN. If you look at the different ways of supporting PPAN, there are many ways that a stakeholder outside the government can support. So in the column of function, they can do policy development or policy issuance, program implementation, institutional strengthening, policy and program implementation. They can do resource mobilization, monitoring and evaluation of PPAN, advocacy, communication, regulation, and capacity building. Even if they are from the non-government organization with different priority, it pays that they also integrate nutrition because it will create synergies with development. Next slide. The second PPAN strategy is the capacity building. It strengthens the capacity of stakeholders to deliver quality nutrition services. So as you can see here in the pictures, they hold activities which train trainers. Okay, they do courtesy call or visit local government officials, no, to encourage them to include health and nutrition in their development plan so it can be integrated in their programs. They can create programs, projects, and allocate budget, no, for health and nutrition. Next slide. Another PPAN strategy is community-based program. So it implement community-based nutrition programs that provide direct nutrition services and promote sustainable development. So as an example, in the picture, they hold, they call it Buntis Congress. So these are pregnant women where they provide dietary supplementation and education, and they also provide supplementary feeding among preschool children, and most importantly, they also provide livelihood projects, no, in a community setting. Next slide. So as working in the academe institution, no, we also do reflect on this question, like how can academic institutions contribute to achieving a Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, target outcomes, and reducing malnutrition in the country through their actions in health, food, and nutrition. So next slide. Specifically, next slide, please. In our university, we take action to help attain the goal of PPAN. In our Bachelor of Science in Nutrition Dietetics program, we have the Committee Nutrition Practicum. Next slide. So we train students to formulate the Barangay Nutrition Action Plan. Barangay means village, no? So they are trained to help to come up with nutrition interventions, program strategies in the barangay or village level. Next slide. Of course, to come up with that nutrition plan, they need to do nutritional assessment. They need to identify what form of malnutrition is present in that community, how many are malnourished, where are they? Okay, so those questions they need to answer to determine the nutrition problem or situations in the community. Next slide. Okay, so some of their interventions that they provide to the community, they're trained to do nutrition counseling. It's one-on-one counseling, not only addressing undernutrition, overnutrition, and microdeficiency, but they also did counsel concern related to non-communicable diseases. Common concerns are diabetes, hypertension, just to name some. Next slide. Our students also did nutrition education among children, no, or elderly or adolescents. Okay, any topics that can improve their nutrition. Next slide. Aside from that, they also do supplementary feeding. They prepare the food or the meals and dish out and serve it to the children and ensure that it's nutritious and or balanced meal. Next slide. Another, they do cooking demonstration. They share, no, those low cost but nutritious dishes to the community. Another, they also they lead a dance exercise. We call it Nutri Zumba to increase physical activity. Next. They also assist during immunization day. Okay, as you can see there, they hold the child, or while the mothers or the parents are waiting for their turn, they do nutrition, education, and counseling as well. Next. Our student also assist in health center services aside from nutritional assessment. They do also take the blood pressure. Okay, then again do interview and nutrition counseling among the clients there in the health center. Next. In addition, they also identify where are these acute children with acute malnutrition. So they visit them, they monitor them and provide some interventions. Next slide. And another is they also develop nutrition education, information education, communication materials. No, they create a nutrition corner, make some brochures, and to help the health centers there promote proper nutrition. Next slide. And they also do radio appearance, like radio guesting. Of course, their topic is any topic related to nutrition. So those are just example activities wherein we empower our students not to help the Department of Health National Nutrition Council attain the goal of the Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition. Next slide. So with that, as one of the stakeholder from the academic institution, we believe that by working together through PIPAN, we can empower every Filipino with the nutrition they need to reach their full potential, fostering a healthier and more prosperous nation for generations to come. Thank you. And that's the references. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Girly, for the excellent presentation. We will and now the Q&A session is open the floor, so the audience from the Zoom can ask by drop the question on chat box or raise hand or open the mic. Maybe from the audience. We have around 30 minutes for this session, and to ensure everyone get a chance, we will start with 3 questions in the first round, and if time allows, we may take additional question. Please be consistent and direct with your question. Kindly use English and mention your name, affiliation, and please raise your hand if you want. Okay. Yeah. Please mention your name and your affiliation.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity that given to me. First of all, my name is Fahmi Dwi Jalmansyah and I'm from Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember. So my question is, what do you think about free nutritious meal program in Indonesia? Ensure the program evenly distribute. Thank you.
Girly, would you like to respond or we will?
Okay, I got the question. So just like our country, we have limited budget, no? So that's why we really need to identify our targets. It's an advantage if we provide free meals and ensure that it's a nutritious meal and it is given to those who are acute children with acute malnutrition. Okay, so we make sure that we reach those children. We have to make it successful, we need to have point person who has the list and prioritize those children who are really classified as children with acute malnutrition.
Okay. Is the explanation acceptable, Mister? Thank you, Mrs. Gurley. Let's move on to our second question from our lecturer.
And I'm from Public Health faculty here in Universitas Jember. I would like to ask you about your term empowerment. How did you measure the empowerment aspect of your project? Not just the nutritional outcomes. Was it through metric of self-efficacy, or maybe women's decision-making power, or even community ownership? And what's your consideration of those options? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Please, to Mrs. Gurley, would you like?
Empowerment, we need to involve them, no, in every step of our implementation of the nutrition program. So right from the start, from the assessment, okay, from identifying their nutritional problems, we need to involve them, okay, to analyzing their data, no? So what is their nutrition situation, to coming up with their goal, no, on how to solve their problem and come up with a solution. So with that, they will have the feeling of ownership of the program, and we can ensure there is participation, no, and active engagement of the people in the community. So we don't go there and present to them our nutrition program and implement it right away, but it is better to empower the community, to teach them how to determine their problem, come up with a solution, and how to implement it, and make sure they will monitor and evaluate their program, so that if we're not already there in their community, they can do it on their own. So there will be self-reliance, no, and they will be empowered.
Is it acceptable explanation, Miss? Okay. Here we are have two questions in the chat Zoom. So I will read the first question, Mrs. Gurley. The question is from Ida Sri Suryani Wijiastuti. She asks, how to improve social behavior change, especially for adolescents in school, to optimal nutrition, health, and well-being? Yeah, that's the question.
Yes, at present, we know our adolescents know has a lot of sources of information. So still, we need to integrate nutrition, health and nutrition in our curriculum, we, as well as in social media. So we need to educate not only the adolescents, but the people around them, because they usually influenced by their peers, by their immediate members of the family. So we need to, for adolescents, their characteristic is you need to be specific with your information. So they are so concerned with, for instance, information like what nutrient that they can be grow taller, you know, and what is that nutrient that can increase their memory as a student, because that's usually their concern. And not to provide information that's too broad, like for instance, you eat this and that for you to be healthy. Well, as for that stage, they cannot still appreciate that. But if you disseminate information that is so concrete, specific that they can that mostly their concern, as what I mentioned a while ago, those examples are more effective to effect change of or modification of behavior to healthier behavior.
Miss Ida Sri Suryani Wijastuti, is it explanation? Yeah, please check in Zoom. I hope acceptable. Yeah. So we will continue to the second question from Zoom. This is from Miss Rida Yuniska. In my area, South Kalimantan, anemia screening has started from middle school age and focuses on adolescent girls. So we don't have data on children in anemia. After I saw the data that more than 10% of children with anemia. How to treat anemia in children, especially children who don't like staple food? Is it possible to have an anemia screening program for preschool children?
Okay, so for this question, these children with anemia are closely monitored by the health center. So unfortunately, I'm not working in the health center, but I know they're providing food supplements on that and supplementary feeding for these children with anemia. Yes, so that's all.
Rida Yuniska? Maybe we must to continue to the last question, yeah, before, because we had a limited time, yeah. So we will continue to the third question from Zoom from Mr. Ahmad Rizal. He asks, what are the biggest challenges you face when promoting health related to nutrition, particularly in communities with varying levels of education and economic status? Based on your experience, what is the most valuable lesson you can share with other health workers who are just starting out in health promotion in communities with unique, spatial, and cultural background?
Okay, so one of the challenges that in implementing nutrition program is cooperation. So first thing first, we need to motivate the local government units or officials that they will include in their development plan any program related to health and nutrition. So because there are some government officials, they are most concerned on peace and order and development of infrastructures, and on sports, but there are times that they forgot to include any concerns about health and nutrition. So we motivate them, we collaborate with them, so they will be mobilized and come up with their specifically create a nutrition committee that will be in charge in planning and implementing so that nutrition program, so they can allocate budget on that. And then aside from that is the our recipients, there's also a challenge in terms of our target community. We need to motivate them to uh, to follow those nutrition guidelines, those that we or information that we shared to them. That's one of the challenges. If you ask them, they can answer what are those nutritious food, what are the foods that they need to include to their diet, but the problem is the implementation. So if they go home to their respective homes, that's the problem na. no, how they can apply self-discipline, no, to strictly follow their those nutritional guidelines to promote health and nutrition. May I ask what's the other question? Did I answer the question?
Mr. Riza, the explanation acceptable? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Girly, for your inspiring presentation and answer. Before we continue to the second session, we allow Mrs. Girly to take a short break. Please, the operator can check Mr. Jarjan. How about Mr. Jarjan? Now, let us
hello.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Mr. Jarjan. Early morning, yeah.
Good morning.
Early morning, yeah. Okay. Now.
Yeah, it's a very early morning.
Yeah. Okay, now let us begin with the second session. Professor Jurgen Rockstraw, MD, is a professor of medicine and head of infectious diseases at the University Hospital Bonn. In addition to his clinical practice, Dr. Rockstraw is involved in HIV research. He also started working on the impact of COVID-19 on HIV co-infection. He is also member of the executive committee of the European AIDS Clinical Society since 2009. Next. And from 2011 until 2020, he is member of the governing council of the International AIDS Society. And since 2023, he is the chair of the European AIDS Clinical Society Guidelines. Dr. Rockstraw has authored and co-authored over 700 publications in peer-reviewed journals and over 100 book chapters. This amount is awe-inspiring, yeah. Our second session focuses on Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, has captured global attention. This outbreak reminded us of the critical importance of surveillance, timely communication, and global cooperation. And it also revealed gaps in preparedness, responses, and equity that we must address moving forward. Today, we reflect not only on the scientific and medical lesson, but also on the human, societal, and policy level insight that emerged from the crisis. Let this session be a space for shared knowledge, critical thinking, and hope for better preparedness in the face of future outbreaks. Professor Jurgen Rockstraw, MD, from University Hospital Bonn, Germany, will present global outbreak of Mpox. What did we learn? And the presentation will be given for 20 minutes. Professor Jurgen, time is yours.
Mpox is a disease which is not known for such a long time. It was first described in 1970, was mostly located in various regions within Africa, but has since then moved. And it was in 2022 when the WHO Director General determined the event to constitute a public health emergency of international concern, and it was considered an emergency as there was a rise of Mpox cases globally, suddenly in all different continents of the world, telling us that in this world today, with the possibilities of travel and other changes, diseases travel, and we have to be prepared correspondingly. More recently, there was a new outbreak and a new state of emergency called because of a major outbreak in Africa, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So what I want to do in this talk is really go through some of the points listed here to make sure that people are aware what Mpox is all about, where it comes from, how it's transmitted, what are the current cases, what is the impact of climate change on the occurrence of Mpox, and then talk just briefly about vaccination as the major prevention tool we have in our hands. Now, it was named monkeypox back in 1970, but obviously that has some stigmatizing elements, and as such has been renamed by WHO to Mpox. It's an illness caused by the monkeypox virus, a species of the genus Orthopox viruses. There are two distinct clades of the virus, clade 1 with subclades 1A and 1B, and then clade 2 with subclades 2A and 2B. And now, in 2022, it was an outbreak by clade 2B, and it's important because the clades are a little bit different with regard to clinical outcomes. So clade 2B has a more benign course than clade 1. As mentioned before, a new name was considered, Mpox, because of the stigmatizing use of monkeypox in social media. As mentioned before, Mpox was first identified in 1970 in a 9-month-old boy. Since then, human cases have been primarily been reported in West and Central African countries, including Nigeria, Cameroon, and Congo, and other countries in the regions. The Central African viruses, as pointed out before, more virulent than the West African virus variants. The incubation period between infection and the onset of first symptoms for Mpox is usually 7 to 21 days. The major transmission routes are close contact, including intimate or sexual contact with a person with Mpox, contact with contaminated materials used by someone with Mpox. Pregnant women can pass on the virus to the fetus, and direct contact with live or dead infected wild animals in some part of Africa remain a source of infection. Now, the big thing about the outbreak, which suddenly affected all continents in this world, was around the sexual transmission and the predominant occurrence of these cases in men who have sex with men. And before this outbreak, I think most people just thought that the transmission pathway was more around household contacts and not necessarily sexually. But in the series, which was published in various reports, the sexual behavior was the main reason and was also affecting the initial appearance of lesions, which were mostly in the anal and genital areas, all suggesting close contact during sexual intercourse being important for virus transmission. And on the right-hand side, you see progression of lesions from anal and genital lesions presented there. And the diagnosis was made by obtaining fluid from Mpox patients and seminal fluid, and they found that was to be positive for Mpox, again suggesting sexual transmission. Now, fortunately, Mpox is not really transmitted necessarily through respiratory spread, so that seems to be less of a concern, which will also mean that if you have certain prevention measures in dealing with individuals who are infected with Mpox, you may be able to prevent further spread. There also has been no clear link between Mpox and water in pools, hot tubs, or splash pads. Now, what symptoms are caused by Mpox? The typical first symptoms are fever, muscle, joint pain, as well as swollen lymph nodes and fatigue. 1 to 3 days after the onset of these initial symptoms, the characteristic skin rash appears. It starts off flat, later forming fluid-filled blisters. So it's a little bit similar to chickenpox. Initially, a lot of people thought were herpes infections. They can crust over and eventually fall off, potentially leaving around scars behind. In the African cases, most of them appeared first in the face and then spreading to the entire body. In the outbreak 2022, where it was more sexual transmission originated, different presentations were shown. And this was summarized in this New England Journal paper, which was the first report of the outbreak in 2022, a collaboration between 16 countries, and including over 528 confirmed Mpox cases. Again, reminding us that this was an outbreak in a vulnerable group. Men who had sex with men were 98% of these initial cases, with most of them having that acquired through sexual activity. Not all of them were HIV positive. Some were PrEP intakers. The most frequent skin lesions were in the genital or anal region, as you would expect from sexual transmission, and actually some had only one single genital lesion. Common systemic features preceding the rash include fever, lethargy, myalgia, and headache, and lymphadenopathy was common, and also concomitant other sexual diseases were frequently found. Now, this is the first patient I saw in my clinic. He had attended a Christopher Street Day event in Gran Canaria. in Las Palomas and developed fever and lymph node swellings in the inguinal region and a headache. And as such, he called me up, and I had just read the report of the first Mpox cases, and I thought it might be that. So I looked at him in an isolation room, and he had only that one single, very hard to see lesion in the anal region, and I did a swab there and sent that in for Mpox PCR, and that was positive. So that was my first case in the German setting. You see here other cases. This is one from Toronto, from the New England Journal paper, again, clearly emphasizing the sexual transmission as the main pathway of transmission. Cases were then collected by WHO, and they presented at the Montreal conference in 2022, the IAS conference, the first results of over 11,000 cases. Again, really showing that this was a predominantly male affecting infection in this outbreak, mostly being MSM, but also including health workers, and showing some of the clinical features which were really around the skin patterns with anal and genital regions, but also the new clinical symptoms, including severe proctitis, urethritis, and urinary retention. And I think that's one of the big questions was then, well, how is the outcome in this overall setting? There were very few deaths, so the outcome was over relatively benign, but we learned that there were individuals who were at higher risk of worse outcome, and those were those with advanced HIV infection. There's a separate publication from that group of 382 individuals with advanced HIV defined as a CD4 count below 200, with 20% having even CD4 count below 100, not being on HIV treatment. And that's where you can see severe necrotizing forms of Mpox. And that's why it has also been suggested that these individuals may be classified as Mpox as an opportunistic infection, so almost like an AIDS-defining event. And you can see from this series that the mortality rate was 50%, so much higher than what we saw in the overall cohort, which was much lower, probably around 1 or 2%. And so clearly, I think, indicating that there are issues in individuals with severe immune suppression. There also been a subsequent publication on Mpox in women. Obviously, that is a much smaller group. In that group, there were 62 trans women and 69 cis women. 89% had sex with men, so also here sexual transmission was the main route, and you can see some of the manifestations here in the genital region correspondingly. Risk factors for a more severe course are people who are immune suppressed, in particular those living with HIV and poorly controlled disease, but also children and pregnant women. The outcome of children in particular, also the African variants, is unfortunately more aggressive or less good as in healthy adults. The diagnosis is made on the basis of skin rashes. However, doctors must rule out similar diseases such as chickenpox. A definite diagnosis provided by a PCR test using samples from the affected skin areas. Antibody tests are unsuitable because the antibodies of all related pox viruses are very similar. So it's really a PCR-driven diagnosis. This is the current epidemiology picture, so you can see the trends in confirmed cases. Remember, in 2024, a new emergency call from WHO in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You can see that currently the number of cases, though, are, however, declining. In the neighboring countries, you see also there is a decline in Sierra Leone and some of the other neighboring countries. If you look at the overall global picture, you can see that in Africa, in total, the numbers have been declining. And also outside of Africa, we currently don't have any signals for a more severe outbreak. But if you break that down by region, you can see whereas there still is a decline in Europe and the region of the Americas, where we see not so many cases anymore, but there are occasional cases, so you can't rule out this as a diagnosis overall. But you can see that there has been a sudden increase, although the numbers are very, very small in the Western Pacific and Southeast Asia region, so suggesting that this virus is still traveling and reaching other places. Is there an impact of climate change on Mpox cases? So I found two papers which I thought were interesting, which looked at the association between the global monkeypox cases and meteorological factors. In the one paper, the results showed that temperature, so temperature increase, relative humidity, and surface pressure had a positive impact on cases. whereas frost point and wind speed showed a negative impact on Mpox cases. It's also suggesting that with climate change, we're going to see a different rate of spread and case number in these particular diseases. And the same is true for a paper which looked at the climatic determinants of monkeypox transmission, a multinational analysis using generalized count mixed models, which was published. And you can see that in that particular study, they found a significant correlation between climate factors and daily Mpox cases across most of the study countries. Specifically, for each 1 grade centigrade increase in the heat index, daily cases increased by 7.7%, and higher relatively humidity decreased daily case by 2.4%, and increased wind reduced them by 7.3%. So there are contributing factors, and as we are seeing increases in temperature worldwide, I think this may contribute to the caseload overall. Vaccination is super important because this is the method to contain outbreaks. The vaccine we have is a modified vaccinia virus, Ankara Bavarian Nordic vaccine, Givanus or Invanix, depending on which country you are. They have different licensing names. It's a 3rd generation live replication deficient modified vaccina. It is given twice, 28 days apart, and the second dose is particularly important for immune compromised or in particular setting of HIV infection. The WHO recommends pre and post-exposure Mpox vaccination for individuals at high risk for exposure. So the recommended groups at high risk are MSM with multiple sexual partners, lab personnel working with orthopox viruses, can also be considered at a lower but still increased risk, including individuals with multiple casual sex partners, including sex workers, healthcare workers at risk for exposure, and members of the outbreak response team. For context of cases, ideally within 4 days of first exposure, vaccination is also recommended for groups at risk. Children, pregnant women, and immune-compromised persons, primary prevention vaccination is only recommended if there's a high exposure risk. The Mpox vaccination rationale for people living with HIV is clearly a prioritization for those with the CD4 count below 200 and detectable HIV viremia, but in general, anyone who has signs of sexually transmitted diseases in the past or has various or changing sexual partners, clearly this is also recommended. And again, it's the 2 doses administered 28 apart. And primary Mpox vaccination should also be offered to all people using HIV PrEP and people with HIV at high risk for Mpox exposure. There have been a whole range of studies, and because of the time limitations, I'm not going to go through all of them. Just one looking at the risk of Mpox-associated hospitalization in those vaccinated. So the risk of Mpox-associated hospitalization for those vaccinated with the MVA-BN vaccine versus those who did not get vaccinated, you can see a significant 73% in those with a pre-exposure with 1 vaccination, higher with 2 vaccinations. And then also for those with close contacts, clearly a significant impact. You should know that if you're vaccinated, it does not necessarily mean that you will not get infected at all. So vaccination is not completely protective, but it does protect against a worse outcome of disease. With regard to treatment, we do not have very good treatments, and in the emergence of particularly very aggressive courses in the advanced HIV infection, there was a need for thinking of what could you do, and there were some possibilities by giving tecovirimat, which is an antiviral. The European Agency for Drugs registered this drug for use, although there was no finished evidence from clinical trials, but because of its activity against other pox viruses, it was considered that this might be an active drug. Meanwhile, 4 randomized clinical trials have studied the use of tecovirimat in individuals with Mpox infection. And the most recent trial, which was presented was at the IS conference in Rwanda recently in July this year. This was a study called the UNEJ trial. It included individuals about 14 years of age who had at least 1 active Mpox infection, which was confirmed by PCR. or highly suspected. And they had two groups, one which had a less severe disease manifestation than those with severe complications and severe immune suppression. Those were entering an open label phase. There was no randomized treatment in that group of individuals with the more aggressive course of disease. And then in those who had only a few lesions, you see the randomization to tecovirimat for 14 days or standard of care. But when you look at the primary endpoint, which was time to complete lesion resolution, you can see there was no difference between the curves. So unfortunately, this trial, as well as the other three previous trials, all did not show any clear endpoint to improve under tecovirimat treatment. Consideration of the cost and the difficulty to assess the drug, I think for now, tecovirimat is no longer recommended unless it's given in the context of a clinical trial. There's still some questions in the more advanced patient population whether there might be some benefit, but with regards to the overall results here and also in the key secondary endpoints, which you see in the right bottom, which is around hospitalizations, you can see there was no positive impact of tecovirimat on the outcome of hospitalization rate in any subgroup studied. So I think the main message here is Mpox really hasn't gone away. You see that it's still lingering around in very low numbers. There's some recent cases in Asia, and what you get from that is that you have to prepare yourself. The best way forward is obviously broad vaccination of individuals who you would perceive to be at risk. And that has been, I can tell you, something which has been very difficult in the German context. There was a vaccine shortage when the Mpox cases emerged. So it was very difficult because there was a triage of trying to vaccinate those first who had either close contact or were at particular high risk, because, for example, of advanced HIV infection. So that has been an issue. But now, as more vaccine is available, I think it's really important, particularly obviously also to get the vaccine to Africa, where we still have ongoing larger outbreaks. And so clearly there's a quest for the world community to make sure that adequate vaccine delivery occurs in the African continent with the highest risk of further outbreaks for obvious reasons. And then the other point is obviously widespread information, because remember when Mpox came in 2022, most countries were not prepared and little was known about Mpox. So it really did require quite a bit of information for individuals to understand the whole background of Mpox infection. I can tell you that in our city, for example, there was an emergency group between the community groups, the public health office, the lead physicians in town dealing with these populations, and that has led to an emergency plan of also vaccine distribution, but also information and educational events to inform everyone what was going on. So with that, I think I'll close and thank you very much for inviting me. And this is a little friendly hello from the Bonn group here in Germany. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your excellent presentation, Professor Jurgen. Yeah, give an applause, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering our second session, yeah, where we will open the floor for question and discussion with our speaker, Professor Jurgen. We have around 30 minutes for this session. And if time allows, we may take additional question, yeah, more than 3. Please be concise and direct with your question. Kindly use English and mention your name, affiliation, and your question. Okay, let's take our first question. Please raise your hand or mute your mic if you are online. Okay. Please mention your name and affiliation.
So, good morning for Professor Jurgen and moderator. Thank you for the opportunity for asking today's presentation. So, before that, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nesha Estrella, and I'm from the Faculty of Public Health with Public Health. So, Apparently, in Indonesia, in this era of technology, there's a lot of misinformations leading to health aspects. My question is there any promising strategy on promoting awareness to avoid creating stigma, especially since this monkeypox illness has been linked globally to certain social groups and various type of social and economical conditions?
I think one of the big issues around the outbreak, because of the predominant involvement of MSM in the 2022 outbreak, has led to quite a bit of stigmatization. And obviously, because there was also unclearance of how it was exactly transmitted, people then get like crazy. It's almost like when the first COVID cases come, and things where people don't understand how it's transmitted always leads to more stigma, I would say. I think it's important to highlight that Mpox, just like many other diseases, can affect everybody. So there are different patterns of transmission. Remember that in Africa, this is, although also now we know it also does include some sexual transmission, also heterosexual transmission. It is something which also is obviously contacted through very close contact in households. So it's not reserved only to certain sexual preferences or certain sexual preferred groups. So I think it's important to stress that this is something which can affect everybody. And I think what is important to get some of the stigma removed is also to make clear that this is something which is not going to only affect everyone, but to exactly explain how it can be transmitted, because knowledge or education is always the best way to combat stigma.
Let's move on to the next question. Maybe want to ask? Okay. I see one question in the chat, Zoom chat box. Yeah, I will read the question, Mr. Jarjan. The question is from Mr. Agus Jalpi. Community has a traditional ritual that involves contact with animals that could potentially carry viruses. How would you propose behavioral change without dismissing the ritual as wrong or primitive? What collaborative step could you propose, Professor Jarjan?
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting question. I think first of all, if I know it right, the reservoir of Mpox in animals is really wild animals. So I would presume that those are usually not animals that you have very close contact through because of the nature of being a wild animal. So it's especially rodents like squirrels, African giant pouch rats, and non-human primates, which carry the Mpox virus. So that's probably not necessarily animals involved in these ritual conduct. Otherwise, so what you would really need to know is that particular animal group really carrying the viruses, which most likely in the context of having close contact to humans is probably not the case. And I think that it is important to respect rituals. So clearly, I wouldn't label them in any way. But if there would be an animal group harboring the virus, I think it's important just to say that for safety reasons, it's important to refrain from certain rituals for a certain period of time in consideration of the safety of people involved.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Jarjan. Oh, yeah, there is many question in Zoom chat. I will read the question from Miss Adista. What lesson from the Mpox outbreak can be applied to enhance preparedness from future orthopoxvirus, other emerging infectious diseases? And how might Mpox surveillance be integrated with ongoing HIV and STI prevention efforts?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think in general, what we've learned from Mpox, but also from COVID, is that obviously we're facing new viral diseases from time to time. So the question really is, how can a country prepare itself for surveillance of virus? I think HIV is a good example because in most countries, HIV surveillance works very well. So if that can be coupled, or if you can learn from how HIV surveillance is done, is there possibility of how can you report back cases? And in the German context, for example, all Mpox cases which are confirmed in the laboratory have to be reported back to the public health offices. The public health offices gather the information and have an ongoing chart of how many cases there are to monitor caseloads and so forth. So that's something which I think we've learned in the COVID and in the HIV pandemic, how to monitor and survey new diseases. In the German system, it's done through the public health office. But that means that you have to have enough people working in the public health office to take up new diseases and tracking of cases and so forth. Because in the early days of the Mpox epidemic in Germany, particularly in not knowing exactly how it's transmitted, and you wanted to get an idea of who had close contact, because you also wanted to suggest contact vaccination. It required quite a bit of people to trace them at home. So people from the public health office went to people who had a confirmed diagnosis, visited them at home, and made sure that they stayed isolated for a certain period of time, and also tried to trace contacts for vaccination. So that was a very, very difficult part. So I think what people need to do in countries is really have a public health team working on surveys and tracking of individuals with certain diseases and how to contain that, and to make sure that there are emergency plans if something new happens.
Miss Adis, we hope the answer acceptable, yeah. Now we will open the question session for participant in outside or outside attendees. Yeah, please raise your hand if you want to ask. Nothing.
I see
Okay.
one hand here from Diwe Rokma.
Okay.
From someone's
Online. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, please. Yeah. Dewi.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mbak Fadira, as a moderator, give me the time to give the question for the Mr. Jurgen. Most of the country in South Asia have the case of HIV/AIDS, often among men who have sex with men, like in your slide. Did you think that monkeypox also found in among with HIV/AIDS in country at the Southeast Asia also the same? And what do you think that there is a integration program between HIV/AIDS and monkeypox, especially for the specific community like men who have sex with men? All of the program, of course, about the screening, maybe therapy and prevention. AIDS and monkeypox from the men who have sex with men, especially in Indonesia and the Southeast country like Indonesia and others. Thank you.
Yeah, so very important point. In Asia, like there was an outbreak, for example, in Japan among this really the group, it's those with HIV, but it's also people in PrEP programs, because people who brothers who say we are going to have multiple sex partners, we want to protect ourselves against HIV, that puts them at risk for other sexually transmitted diseases. And so you're right that in this outbreak in 2022-2023, there was a particular focus on MSM populations, and that was done by involving the community, because you're not going to get anywhere without having also the community on board. And that meant, for example, where I work in Cologne, that in the community checkpoint, where we also do STD testing and HIV testing, we had information evenings, where people were invited from the community. So this was a predominantly MSM group, which came and could ask all kinds of questions. I gave a short summary of what Mpox is, what are the symptoms, how is it transmitted, how can you protect yourself, and so forth. And remember, what we didn't talk about in the presentation is that people who had smallpox vaccination in the past may already have some protection, and so there's obviously, you can check, did you have smallpox vaccination in the past? Do you need another vaccination? And then when vaccines were becoming more available, because that was the initial hurdle, we didn't have access to vaccines in a very large number. And then you have to, because then you sort of have to think like, who do you vaccinate first, and so forth. That was all done under involvement of the community into emergency boards, like the city of Cologne. People from public health office sat together with the community board members and various groups involved in the care of individuals with HIV, with PrEP programs, to make sure that the people at highest risk were approached immediately. I think what's always important, though, when it comes to this MSM thing is that, yes, it was a predominant MSM outbreak in 2022, but that was most likely because someone who had sex in Africa probably traveled, and then it spread in different various events and places. But this can also happen. You can also get affected through heterosexual transmission. So, you can will also be able to have an outbreak in other groups. It's not always going to be MSM. I think that's the point in the African context. You see that this is a predominantly heterosexual transmission. You see a lot of children being infected because of the close contact with the mother. Obviously, kids want to cuddle with their mom, and so those are the issues. So I think you have to target your prevention programs a little bit about which groups are affected, because that may be different. So in the context of that initial outbreak in 2022, there was obviously a call to refrain from certain sexual activities, to until more information was available. So it was a lot of public awareness and a lot of information provided. And I think the best way to manage that all is really open campaigns about how is it transmitted, what is it all about, because also what became clear early on was that the fatality rate, if you didn't have, undiagnosed HIV in a late stage, was not very high. So most people had very mild disease. So that was at least reassuring. But obviously what you want is to prevent spread to other diseases, and that is obviously a concern. So education is really the most important thing. I think now that vaccines are available, and you can see what I showed you from the WHO, but also from other groups, the recommendation is very much targeting people at highest risk, and those things can be used to inform the community. And since there is a preventive vaccine, obviously it makes sense to think about vaccinating people correspondingly in PrEP programs and those who are in HIV clinics.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jojen. And this is one question again from Zoom chat box from Mr. Ahmad Rizal. He asks, what would be the role of a health promotion officer if they had to create a poster or video about Mpox prevention? What symbols, colors, or visual metaphors from the local culture would you use to make the message more easily understood and accepted? Based on your experience and research, provide specific examples, particularly in Germany.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, in the UK, there were some very famous examples, because I think they had a patient who recovered from Mpox do a video about Mpox and why prevention is important and how it was. So the person sort of reported back from their own infection. That's always a pretty powerful tool, I think, because there's a real person who had it and can describe that. I think in the beginning as a physician, I would say it was important that we saw a picture of mpox because, in clinic, when the first cases come, most people never heard or have ever seen mpox before, so they all said this was a herpes infection and so forth. So there was misdiagnosis, and misdiagnosis then mostly leads to more transmissions, right? So I think you need something which is maybe a little bit more on the medical side, with a clear picture of some mpox manifestations, so that you know what the skin blisters look like, to sort of separate them potentially from a herpes infection. And then to highlight the issues of prevention, and because obviously it also means that if you have someone who has a new mpox infection, that you would probably offer vaccination to the sexual partner, for example. And then I thought particularly powerful was the testimony of previous mpox patients.
Okay. Mr. Ahmad Rizal? Is it acceptable? So we can use a real picture. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Georgian. I think that was the last question, yeah. And this Q&A session bring us to the end session of conference. A sincere thank you to all speakers for their valuable contribution, and to the audience for your active participation, both online and offline. As we close today's International Scientific Conference, I'd like to express our gratitude to all participants who join us from around the world, both in personal and virtually. We hope today's session provided meaningful insight, new ideas, and potential collaboration. Special thank you goes to the organizing committee, our technical team, and also those who made this event possible. We wish you a productive day ahead and hope to see you again at our next event. And the following agenda will be taken over by host. Thank you.
Best gratitude has been said to the splendid speaker, Mrs. Girly Veracruz Libato, R&D, MAD, MPH, who have agreed to join this event. And also, best gratitude has been said to Professor Jürgen Kurt Rockstroh, MD, who is by already an amazing speaker. The certificate will display on the screen. Furthermore, there is a certificate handed out by the Vice Dean 1, the Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember. Without further ado, we invite Dr. Anita Dwi Prahastuti S, SKM MSc, to come on stage.
Morning. Thank you so much for delivering the interesting topic today. And on behalf of the Dean, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Jember, we say thank you for attendance as a speaker, the 4th Public Health on Agricultural Community Conference. Thank you so much, Dr. Girly Veracruz Liboto from San Carlos University, Philippines.
Before we moving on, there will be the documentation. For the committee that is in charge, please arrange the position. Allow me to lead the documentation. 3, 2, 1. Okay, once again. 3, 2, 1. Best gratitude has been said. The Dean Phase is pleased to return to the seat. Then, there is a certificate handed out by Chairman of the Committee of the Faculty of Public Health, University of Jember. Without further ado, we invite to come on stage Mr. Kurnia Ardiansyah Akbar, SKM MK3 PhD. For Mr. Kurnia Ardiansyah Akbar, SKM MK3 PhD, please to give the certificate to the moderator. Next, please to give the certificate by online and giving the speech to the first speaker, Professor Jürgen Kurt Trockstroh, MD.
Good morning, Professor. Kurnia here, speaking. Udah keluar? Ya, nanti tinggal fotonya aja udah. Itu, next please.
Best gratitude has been said. For the chairman of the committee and moderator are pleased to return to the seat.
Ladies and gentlemen, all right, we have come to the end of the international conference session, the 4th Public Health Agricultural Community Conference, and the 5th International Conference on Medicine and Health Science. After this, we will continue to the next session, the oral presentation session on Zoom. Furthermore, the presenters are expected to enter the Zoom at 12:45 p.m.
For oral presentation, participant or other participant who want to see the oral presentation session can join using the same link. Participant can return to the main room after the oral presentation activity ends. There will be announcement of the outstanding and best oral presenters in the main room. All the oral presenters are requested to change the Zoom display name to the following format: room number _ presenter _ name. The following is a list of oral presenters in each breakout room. Once again, the following is a list of oral presenters in each breakout room.